Good evening, everybody, and welcome in. Chris is here with me tonight. Chris, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Excited to sit down and talk about these topics. Chris, it's obviously a tough topic whenever you deal with certain things in our lives. Politics, religion, sexual orientation, disability. These are tough topics, and we all know that. Tonight, we're going to be embracing the topics and talking about what Disney is doing, what their competition is doing. What are some of the standard practices for disability and other major factors? We're going to stay to the positive light of everything. I've already talked with everyone on the panel, and we have all agreed that this will be 100% about the topics. If anyone decides to go outside that topic within the chat, then we will address that accordingly and practice it accordingly. We welcome your chat, and to be a part of this, we're going to try to include the chat as much into the commentary as we possibly can. So please bear with us with that. With that, I want to bring in our friends today. First, coming in from California, it's our friend Pete from NeuroDiv Disney. Pete, good to see you, buddy. Welcome in tonight.
Good to see you too, guys.
Welcome in.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Charlie and Stacy are here from the Disney Nerd Herders. Welcome. Good to see you all.
Thanks for having us.
Lisa is here from It's Joey's World. It's Joey's World. So I think first the simple thing would be for a lot of people that might be watching and don't know all of us, just a simple fact of how what you want to share a little bit if you choose to share. And I'll just kind of go around real quick. I'll start. The disability, the DAS to me was always something that I watched from afar. I wasn't until I was later in life, right before I got this injury. I had a major back injury, so I had a DAS for a couple of weeks to help me through that on one of the trips, which was very good. Then when this all happened to me, I viewed the disability opportunity for Disney totally different. For those coming in new who might not know me from different sources, I am a triple amputee. I've lost both of my legs. I've lost my left hand, and my right hand is severely compromised in it. So I'm actually like a 3.5 amputee. So this is something that's important to me because I need this to get around the parks on a safe factor and to be able to do it in a fun factor. So Chris, anything you want to throw before we go?
No, yeah, just appreciate everybody being here and all everybody joining us. Yeah, as you said, Pete, I think sometimes it can be used for the seen and the unseen issues. So, yeah, just an important aspect for people that need a little bit of extra loving care for their visit to the park.
And we are absolutely tonight not going to make any type of decisions or any type of verbiage to who is or who is not eligible for a DAS. We're talking about acceptance with the DAS because none of us are doctors, although we deal with our own thing. We're keeping it on that way. So NeuroDiv, Pete.
Hey, yes.
Go ahead. You're up.
Oh, okay. So I'm Pete. I'm with NeuroDiv Disney. We function and service a lot of the families that are out here in California that are on the spectrum, especially how to help them survive a day, whether using the DAS or not using the DAS pass. We've never actually used the DAS pass before ourselves. We would time our time to go to the park, and when it was mostly uncrowded. Crowds were a big issue for Mary, but we've seen it be used, and we know people that do use it. And since we started our channel, we've reached out to Disney and Team Disney Anaheim a lot to talk to them about how the DAS pass can be utilized, what it's for, and the best place to take advantage of what it is. We've seen it be abused. We've seen it be not abused. It's across the board out here.
Okay, interesting. Good. Well, we're going to dig into that a little bit here. Charlie and Stacy, Disney Nerd Herders. Hello.
Thanks for having us. So we use the DAS pass for our son. He's autistic, so you can't see that he's got a disability, but as soon as he opens up his mouth, you know he does. One of those type things. So we've been using the DAS pass for a while now, haven't we?
Yeah, it started with he's autistic. He's on the spectrum. His name is Avery, and we try to bring him on the channel whenever possible, and he has his own channel in which we are trying to get him to express himself a little bit better. But when it comes to parks, it started off with autism and ADHD. The last year, he has developed some mobility issues in regards to sometimes requiring a wheelchair for his walking gait, and he has hip problems and ankle problems, and he's been developing some mobility problems. So it's been uh, a changing scene for us in regards to his needs. They keep on developing. So we're definitely curious to see what type of changes and whatnot the new DAS system is going to be bringing.
Okay.
Mhm.
It's going to be interesting for sure. Thank you. And Lisa from It's Joey's World, you want to say a few words before we go?
Thanks for having me. I'm very glad to be here. My name is Lisa. Our channel is It's Joey's World. It's based on my brother Joseph, who is 55 years old. He is autistic, neurologically impaired, and developmentally delayed. We first went to Disney as adults in '95, and that was pre-DAS, and it was such a horrible time. We didn't go back for 15 years. Yeah, it was. He was miserable. We were miserable. Everything was miserable. But since the DAS has been implemented, we've learned how to use that in conjunction with a lot of other things we've kind of learned about, and it's helped a lot. And just like Stacy and Charlie said, a lot of times if Joey didn't have his puzzle piece ears on, you wouldn't really even know that he had autism until he spoke to you, or maybe you saw the way he walked because he's got a little gait thing going too.
Okay.
But I've also worked in the field. A lot of people don't realize for 5 years for a multiple handicap school as a teacher's aide and a substitute nurse, and also for the state for 5 years doing summer assessment programs. And then I did a little kind of volunteer stuff with a lot of the local groups in Jersey, Maryland, and here in Florida. So when you talk about the invisible disabilities, I understand completely, and that's why this is such a great topic to talk about, because there are some very serious conditions out there which I don't think are going to be covered with the new program that they have coming up.
Well, let's first talk about this program coming up and a couple of the changes. I also want to talk about invisible disabilities and of that nature. First, with these changes, obviously, one of the things that it dropped from 6 people to 4 people that you can. Yes, please, Chris. It dropped from 6 to 4. So a family of 5, as in my thing, would have a challenge. You'd have to work through that, alternate through it. That was one of the bigger changes. We're now going to be they're looking at a third party, if I understand correctly, that'll be doing the interviews and making the assessments of you. We've had many of us have had to deal with calling in already to a person that would ask unique questions. At the time, I had questions about their training on it, because some of the questions that they asked didn't seem to me to be appropriate. So maybe this will be a good thing. I kind of want everybody's opinion on that. And then, the bigger factor is they put out there, and this is the topic I know we want to talk about because obviously you guys are affected. They put out there, if you look at the DAS, and I should have had it ready to pull up on the screen. I apologize, I didn't. If you look at the DAS on the Disney website now, it now flat out states, this service supports guests who, due to a developmental disability like autism or similar. So they've made it clear now on their page that this is the path they're going. And the challenge with that I have, one, for me, and I could be wrong, and I'll be curious to see what you all said, and I'll kind of go around the table here. Thank you, Chris. There you go. God bless that. The challenge that you have there is that it really, to me, puts a target on people of autism right off the bat, because everybody, like, I'll use myself as an example. Not that I do have a grudge, but I could very easily have a grudge in saying, okay, I respect somebody who's going through autistic challenges, but I've given 3 body parts, and I'm afraid that if I'm standing in a line for 25 minutes that my legs give out and I fall on a young child or something and hurt them, or I fall and crack my head open, is it right? So I could have that as well. So I'll kind of start, Lisa, I'll start with you. Just your thoughts initially on what you're seeing in some of the program.
Well, I kind of agree with you with that. I think it does put people who have autism or their family members kind of in a target range, and then because it's a spectrum, that's a very big issue too.
Mhm.
Because, my brother Joey, he'll never drive. He'll never probably live independently, or have higher education or have a career or get married, have kids. But then there's other people on the higher end who do.
Right.
So it's hard. It's going to be very hard for their partner Advent Health to try and figure that out. I'm not sure. And, I've worked with a lot of kids. In one of the summer programs, there's a young lady, she was about 18 years old, just a delight, but she was legally blind, had cerebral palsy and epileptic. And the minute the temperature got above 80, she would go down for a grand mal seizure.
Oh,
We had to have ice packs, we had to have fans, we had to have cooling towels all the time. So to me, that's just as serious of an issue. That's more of even a safety issue for her and anybody around her too. Just like for you, Pete, just like for Mike Wheeler, trying to navigate all the turns in a queue line that can change in a second if they decide to move a chain.
I think the interesting with Advent is going to be is how are they going to decipher what someone's disability is legitimate to be worked through, or someone say they're not. Who is to say one disability is more important than another? Obviously, some are more severe than the other. I get that, but the chat, how are they going to do that? So I'm curious, with that. Charlie, what are you guys' thoughts initially on the program?
Well, I just wanted to say, do you think that because they're requiring us to have a doctor's note, that it's more the doctor that's determining?
Well, it's possible, but I could tell you if there's ways to get around that if people want to too.
Yeah, but that's going to be no matter what, though, too.
There's definitely trigger words that people know what to
Mhm.
use to get a certain diagnosis from their doctors.
Yeah.
Get a certain diagnosis. Yeah. Now, it's not for us, any of us on the panel here, any of the six of us, or honestly anybody in the community to sit there. Do special needs qualify? KK, you still have to go through the Advent procedure, and they would make an assessment of you and your challenge right there. Sorry about that. I wanted to ask you a question. It's not for us to assess who has a disability, who doesn't, because invisible disabilities are there.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that have different challenges that honestly, it's none of our business unless they want to share. And two, that they are affected just as greatly as me not having body parts. So
Right.
I don't think it's a thing of that nature.
The subjectivity of the judging part is going to be a very gray area, because you can get a cast member or an Aspire person that's throwing out DASs. Yeah, you get DS, everybody's a DS, and one that's really hard knocks that says, okay, hey, but what stops you from waiting in the line with every symptom that you give them? But does that stop you waiting in a line? How does that stop you waiting in a line? They're going to be pounding that. It's no easy thing to figure out, because their job is to try to cut down on the fraud, try to make it a little bit more, a little bit harder for the frauders to get into the system or to cheat the system,
Well, that's a good point.
But there's
And
so much subjectivity to that there's
Go ahead.
going to be, it's almost impossible. I think the only fair way would be to not really cut down on what they're doing now, but just make it a little bit tiny bit harder for people who want to cheat the system. That's the only thing we hope to achieve.
Keegan, Luca, welcome in. I have not read that case, the court case that you're referencing. Not going to just throw that out there. And also, I saw that was Mike, was asking about the out-of-state guests that, it's going to be an interest. Thank you, Chris, for bringing that up. It's going to be interesting for those guests who have to do some of this through video. I've had to do video. I literally had to sit there, and the last cast member, first couple ones were great. The last cast member, she was trying to deny me giving it to me this time, and I literally took my legs off in front of her and said, and literally sat up and showed her my body. And I said, I'm telling you, this is, and she was like, oh my God. So it was almost a shock factor. So, as we're saying, so Pete, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think that since Disney has changed to a paid format for you to get onto your FastPasses, they have the lightning lanes now, since
Mhm.
Disney has changed that, it seems like to me that the cause and alert, the rumblings that you hear from Disney about DAS and how it's being used, it seems like those concerns have amplified since we started paying for that. Maybe people, taking in, maybe people that had disabilities before that said, you know what, I don't need it. I'm okay to get through it. But now that you're going to charge me for getting in, well, okay, I have Crohn's, but I'm going to go and take advantage of this now. So do you think that played into the part of the lift?
Yeah. So before I get into that, and I absolutely agree with you. I just wanted to, I noticed I didn't say anything. Mary, my daughter, the other half of Neurodiv Disney, for everybody listening, she is on the spectrum. She's pretty high functioning, but she's definitely on the spectrum. You wouldn't know it by talking to her. She does have her tics. She does have the gait. She has the way that she stands. It's the whole 9 yards. So like I said, we've been dealing with this for like 17, 18 years of going to the park. And so what I've seen the DAS pass being used, and is everybody East Coast but me?
Yes.
Okay. In California, what you get are a lot of people that are self-diagnosed. And if they're students, they go to the college, they're going to their colleges and they're going to their college doctors and saying, I have anxiety. Okay. Or they're saying, I have something, I need a note. And then they use this as their free lightning lane. And in a place as big as Walt Disney World, maybe it's not going to be that big of an issue. In a place as small as Disneyland, it becomes a huge issue. And so, yeah, as soon as the lightning lane came out, as soon as COVID restrictions lifted, as soon as you had to start paying for stuff, we saw this uptick. And more, you're finding that there's a party of, okay, they can only have 6 people, but it's a party of 20, so 3 of them need a DAS pass. And then you have a line of 20 people that come together, and you see it. And like you said, it's really hard to say you don't deserve one, you do deserve one.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hear people standing around saying, "This is so awesome," you're kind of like, I wonder.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not my place to say you can or you can't. But in a park as small as Disney, when you have 20 people that come up wanting to use the DAS pass, it pushes wait times up to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Just because we need to accommodate that. And that's where I think Disney is looking around going, well, what can we do? It can't be that all of a sudden there's this explosion, of people that have some kind of cognitive dissonance or disability that they need to come in. And all of a sudden they need to stand in, this line instead of that line. It's been huge.
I think what brought it to the forefront, it's not the individual person that might be doing something that they shouldn't have done. Okay. It's not, and that's not for us to judge and not for us to, because Disney has given them the pass. It's on Disney. They're the ones, they're the gatekeepers. But when it was documented on numerous qualified resources, and Chris and I talked about it here, and Chris can comment on this, when you have people that were using it for the private tours that they were doing, and they were taking 2 people there and having 12 DASs and taking people through. And I mean, I think one of the groups that was in the article that I read was a family of young kids that flat out said to whoever that took the picture thing of it, that, oh yeah, well, we've never used this before. We don't have anything, but they said it's part of the tour that they handle. And that, I think that brought to major light. Chris, I think that.
So there was a Forbes article that I read today that about this. They interviewed a trip planner in Florida that said he would frequently get calls from people wanting to know how to apply for DAS, and when he asked them about their disability, they didn't have one. They just want to know how they could get the DAS.
Right.
And so I think that's part of what Disney was trying to address with this. So, yeah.
Right. Now, Lisa, Universal's been in some challenges. I know you've done a little bit of background reading on this. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, Universal started, they have an outside and it is for-profit company called IB, I wrote it down somewhere, IBCCES, which
Okay.
is short, and they get you, and it's for the individual accessibility card. You have 30 days. You have to apply online. You
Okay.
have to download documents, doctors, therapists, schools, if they attended special education. And after you do that, if they say you already met that criteria, then you have to do an online virtual meeting. You get the card. And then when you get that, this is free though for the person applying and their family. You get a
Okay.
card, you bring that card to the parks. It's good for a year. And they
Okay.
give you a bracelet. And that takes you on to, because they have two lines there usually. Sometimes they have a single rider, but very rarely it's just your regular line and what they call their express pass line. The reason I'm not thrilled with that is, one, I don't know this third party, you know, and they're for profit too. So I really don't feel comfortable downloading all of our personal information to this company that I don't know.
Right.
And it's not like they're Advent Health, which is the health company that's always been dealing with Disney for many years.
Right.
Secondly, even though Joey wears his autism ears or he wear an autism shirt, so that when he does the things he does, people are a little bit more patient. They're a little bit more kind should he brush past them or start stimming or things of that nature. The minute you put on that bracelet and you go through that express line, people are going to give you that look. Like,
well, okay. So that's a great point. Charlie and Stacy, let me ask you guys if, is that something, it's one, if you choose to wear something that says I'm supporting autism or I'm supporting whatever. Okay. It's one, if you choose to do that. A lot of people love to wear buttons, pins. I love that. But having to wear a special bracelet, if Disney were to make a special magic band, and you're having to put out there, hey, I'm a person with disability. If you don't want that, if you're a person who wants to remain private, because it is your private disability, is Disney pushing the button if they would have to do what Universal does and making you wear some special bracelet or magic band?
I can see how some people would not want to. I don't think that's the case with us. I don't think Avery cares when we try to, in regards to knowing he has this toy snake that he's stimming with 24/7, and
Okay.
it keeps on growing. He keeps on adding sections to it. So, but he's really good at manipulating it. It's really cool to watch him sometimes. But people know what he's about. He can't go into the parks without it, and he's just constantly playing with it. So if they'd have to be pretty stupid to not realize that Avery's
There's something going on there.
Stimming there, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think he's never come up to us yet anyway, saying, I don't want to be singled out. I don't like being labeled. I don't want that thing on me. You know, he's never refused
I think
one of
he's
his.
got that thought process though.
Yeah, not yet anyways.
Right.
So.
And personally, for me, because of how Avery is artistic and people sometimes don't see it, having like ears or something that gives people, a cue, okay, there's something going on here, versus the looks as like a spoiled kid or, the stuff that they tend to label people when they don't fully understand what's going on there.
Well, the thing that I think about is, for me being new to disability and when this all happened to me, I went from going to the parks and never having anyone look differently at me unless I was, doing something stupid. I running around screaming with the crazy Disney lady or, getting just our dream to yell loud things or something. But now I find, obviously, because my disability is visible, that you tend to get those, oh, let me give you a little bit more, let me do this or whatever, with people feeling sorry for you. And I know that, from my wife dealing with ADA kids when she was younger, that's one of the things of confidence that they teach. Confidence in you and confidence in not feeling that you're any less. So, Pete, do you find, as you're out there in the parks, that people react differently if you're taking advantage of a disability?
Yeah, no, it's it's a much different attitude. I don't see anybody ever thinking, oh, you're taking advantage of disability. It's more of the over accommodation.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Your daughter's autistic. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I get
You know,
that.
what can we do?
Okay.
What?
It's okay.
Yeah. like, well, thank you. She's 21. Finally, I have validation. It's going to be all right. Yeah. It's this weird, it's a weird sort of thing. What I see are people that get mad when you say, oh yeah, I got anxiety. About what? Oh, just stuff. And then people start saying, well, wait a minute. That's not okay. You know, you can't just go around saying you have something. And so it kind of goes the other way. You have people that are overly accommodating to somebody that's obviously autistic, or they have something that says it's autism. And in Disneyland, I mean, there's groups of parents that they buy special headphones for their kids, and like you can spot them a mile away. It's the best headphone that they can buy. They have a little community that talks about it. Other parents come up and they talk about it. So like having that stuff, it makes other families come together and start discussing it. Okay. What do you do? How do you survive this? And it's just something totally different, because no one feels sorry for you. They just want you to have fun. I guess. I mean, it's hard to like pinpoint it down.
Good. I agree with that. What I want to do with this next part here. First off, I want to make sure that everybody knows everybody came to this channel tonight voluntarily when I asked them if they wanted to participate. If you're listening to them and you like what they're talking about, we've been dropping their links throughout the night. The least you can do is give them a follow and check out their content and say hello to them for all four of my friends that are here tonight. And with this next segment, I'm kind of going to throw it to go around. We'll start with Chris and just kind of an open topic. What do you want to talk about? Let's throw the next topic out there. Chris, you want to start something?
I want to say, yeah, this is a tough change for a lot of us, a lot of our friends here, because it is completely different than what we've been used to. But I would like to say too, aside from the DAS, there's some amazing cast members at these parks that do some amazing things for guests. And like I said earlier, guests that need a little bit extra love and magic to make their day. I got a friend on Facebook that came over from California to Walt Disney World a couple of months ago. Her son was on the spectrum and was having some really bad days, and cast members went out of their way and worked outside of the box to make magic for them and make their trip a good trip for them. So just want to say, keep that in mind, and thank you to those cast members.
And I do believe,
thanks enough.
Chris, that's a great point. I do believe I've read recently that Disney is trying to extend some of the training for working with people of disability through their cast members. So they have a little bit more attention to detail, which I think is huge. Is there, Mike Klemovich, not right now. If you want to call me on the phone, I'll be glad to ring you in on the phone. For a second, I'll be glad to do that. I think you might have my phone number. If you do, you can call into the studio. I'll be glad to allow that for a second. Lisa, let me go over to you.
Well, I did a little bit of research because the panel had talked before. I've tried really hard to contact Disney, emails. They haven't gotten back to me, just the automated response, a virtual chat with someone with a computer, and then even a phone call today. There actually was a DAS hotline number, which is now disconnected. So I got one of the main numbers, and the woman said, well, I really don't know about the DAS. And I said, well, can you direct me to someone that does? Because I'd like to learn more about this. I have some questions. I had a lot of questions. And she's like, I could just read to you what's on the computer right now. We should have more information out on May 20th. And I'm like, well, that's where I got my information. That's why I have questions. But I think right now, in my opinion, they're being rather vague about it because of what the ADA says, the American Disability Act. I also looked up the SSI, Social Security, and I'm just going to read off very quickly about what they say about that. Because there's a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people are like, oh, you can't say someone is this, you can't say someone is that. They have certain guidelines that they follow in order to get benefits. So the ADA, and this is a civil rights law, which was passed in 1990, guarantees that people with disabilities have the same opportunities as everyone else to enjoy employment opportunities, purchase goods and services, and participate in state and local government programs. It's a long, long law. Right. It's also about work. It's about transportation. It's about the grocery stores have 3 feet in every aisle. It's about that bathrooms there's a whole plethora of things. So I was just looking more at the goods and services, which is, I think, what we're all talking about. We also say, and Social Security also mirrors this exactly, a person with a disability is someone who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. So, Pete, you're a great example of that. You know, you have a major life activity. I did. I think that's why they also want to do this virtually, as opposed to, because we used to love to go in. We never even tried it virtually. Right. We used to love to go into customer service, talk to someone, as long as the line wasn't long. If it was, we just walk around or do something until it went down. But I don't think they want to have people getting upset in the parks. In the customer service.
There's going to be people that are going to be turned down.
I had not heard about any documentation. I didn't read anywhere about any documentation that's required for Disney. That can change in the next, I guess, 15 days when this comes out. So.
Well, and I hope their people are ready. The last young lady who helped me was very nice and helped me with my DS. But at the end of it, she said, all right, well, I hope your situation improves. And I said, well, much like Groot, I'm waiting for my hand's going to regrow here probably in 4 to 6 weeks, and then I'll be good. But for me, I deal with my disability with humor. I try to find. Chris has been with me when I was in Star Wars Land, and we were approached by Kylo Ren and the Stormtroopers, and I told Kylo Ren that his Stormtroopers took my hand, and I'd like it back. And it's just the Disney cast member about fell out. The cast member had a fit, but. But that's how I deal with my thing. So, it just is what it is. Charlie, what topic would you guys like to touch on?
Well, my concern, party size, the max party size. Now, I heard some people saying that they are going to allow to go beyond 4 people if it's immediate family, which is promising, a little bit promising. But to be specific with one of Avery's issues that he has is he is obsessive about knowing where his family is. So if we have my sister and brother-in-law with us, okay, that automatically puts us to 5. Okay, if grandma's with us, it's 6, whatever. And if they don't allow those 2 in their line with them, he'll be freaking out the entire time. Won't be able to enjoy the ride because, like, where's Auntie Tricia? Where's Uncle Kim? Where's so and so? And he'll be obsessing about it to a point where it'll be totally, it'll wiggle him out. It'll just won't enjoy it. So it defeats the purpose. So I hope that they are going to be more lax or more accommodating for at least the max. I realize you can't have 12. I'm not asking for 12, but I think going to where you have the person, the disability, the special needs person that has with them plus 3 others, I think that's too small.
Yeah. Charlie, I just got to jump in real quick. That's one thing. I mean, people keep looking at us going, oh, well, you guys will be fine. You got Joey. And it's like, okay, but I have 2 nieces and a great nephew. We only see every 1 to 2 years, and our time together is at Disney, and they fly down from Jersey. And Joey's the same way like Avery is. He loves them. He writes to them. He calls them. But one of the questions I want to ask is, okay, if that's your rule, I agree 100%. We'll go with it. How do you juggle Lightning Lane with a DAS? Because if you think about it, how it works, the DAS, you get that return time. Right. Okay, it's a half hour for this. Come back in a half an hour. How do you make sure that Lightning Lane matches up with that DAS?
Absolutely.
And the answers I'm not getting any information about.
Absolutely.
And not to jump in, Pete, but we brought up earlier that this is Disney's website, on the DAS, there's literally not hardly any information on here about what's going to be past May the 19th.
Right.
Most of everything that's on here is spanning from April the 9th when they announced the change through May the 19th. There's very little that's changed here other than this banner that points out more about autism and similar
I think
disabilities.
To that point, Chris, I think May the 20th, the Disney internet part is going to probably explode. Real quick before I go over to Pete, I just want to answer a couple of things. Regina Erie, as far as the DAS person can take any persons they want. They could be family, they could be friends. The number is the number. I've been down there and done it with my Disney friends. I've been down there and done it with my family. It's just that you stick to the number. You also are not allowed to, the person with the DAS has to go on the ride. You cannot just walk up there and say, hey, I'm going to do, these people are going to go. No, you have to go on the ride. So that's part of it there. Chris, can you pull that up so I could at least read that for that person? Also, for Mike, you asked about could the government and ADA get involved in this? It's very possible, and it's a question I'm going to have for the panel here right before we finish up here. As we're going, DizFan912, $5 holler holler. Thank you. You didn't have to do that, but very gracious. What about those people who have invisible disabilities? It makes no sense. Do the sunflower system like at the airports do. We're going to talk about that and actually the next topic after we go through. So DizFan, hang tight for 1 second. If you're new here tonight, hit that subscribe. Come back with us. We try to talk the magic of Disney as much as we can. And please check out my friends who graciously took their time here tonight to be here. Pete, what's on your mind? What's a thought for you?
So I can't imagine a place or a time that Disney hasn't been over accommodating to people regardless of what the situation is. There are protocols in place where if, a kid drops an ice cream cone, they get another ice cream cone. I know Tokyo Disney that if there's a bad thing, when the earthquake happened a few years ago, they started handing out stuffed animals like cotton candy. They were Disney always goes above and beyond. So it's hard to imagine that if you have a family of 5 or 6 coming up, that they're going to be like, no, you got to choose who sits this one out. I just can't see that happening. But what's on my mind has been, okay, so what can we do as a community, since apparently people with autism are being singled down to this? What can we do to bring it to Disney's attention that, hey, we're not totally okay with this? We're not this isn't necessary for us. We want everybody to be inclusive by it. Why is it all of a sudden just cognitive behavior? Why is it suddenly just, us? Which makes me wonder, well, maybe they have something else going on. Maybe there's going to be another pass for people with physical disabilities. It's just going to be 2 separate things. So instead of one catch-all where somebody has to know physical disabilities, invisible disabilities, cognitive disabilities, it's going to be split up. And we don't know. I've even gone to any suit that I see walking around from Team Disney Anaheim saying, what is coming up with this new DAS pass? They don't know. The cast members don't know. Main Street, doesn't know. Nobody knows. So it's not like they're around here. It's not like I feel like they're withholding information as much as it is that they literally have no information to give. They're going to find out a week before it launches. They're going to go through their training. So there's just no information right now. But in the meantime, I
did talk to a cast member, and he literally said the window is about a 7 to 10 day window of training prior to being exercised.
Yeah. And so what's been on my mind is, okay, cool. We don't use it that often. I have friends that use it, and whether their kids are on the spectrum or not, there's obviously a need for it. So what can we do to not be pariahed into the idea that, oh, sorry, it's an exclusive club. You have to be on the spectrum to take care of this, or to have this. So, that's been something that we've dealt with our viewers, with our friends, and we don't have any answers on that.
Absolutely. That's true. Kika asked if they could ask everybody on the panel the ideal DAS. I don't think any of us have an ideal DAS system right now in our head, because it's different for how we all go about disability. I think the main thing that all of us on this panel want is what Walt says. If you listen to the opening that I have that that I play on my channel, which thank you to Nick and Claire for doing that. It's Walt's voice talking about, everyone welcome, everyone welcome. There was a question, Chris, who was it that asked it? Was it Jeanette? Who was it? Janice Disney? Somebody asked a question about, does Disney required to do this?
Yes.
Thank you for pulling out Jay Nashville. So to my knowledge, and the panel can recorrect me, to my understanding from my research is they are not required to provide a DAS system. However, they are required to provide accessibility to all rides. That's the only thing they're required. Chris, am I on that?
And yeah, that's under what Lisa was talking about, ADA. So they have to provide accessibility just as any like normal public building, that sort of thing. And I was just scanning through. There's nothing in the ADA as far as DAS like this is allowing you front line or special accommodations like that.
Yeah, fully reasonable accommodations is
right.
The things that they had said. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. Well, Chris, I kind of want to go around the group here and just your thoughts on, the challenges Disney faces with the disabilities of invisibility. And I'm obviously not talking about being able to cloak and go invisible, because I would probably ride Big Thunder 900 times if I could do that. I am talking about those of us in this world that are challenged with a disability that is not a seen disability, that honestly, it's nobody's business in the park or at home that's watching any stream or anything what someone's disability is. It's on Disney to determine if they are eligible. So just the invisible disability and how that affects not only with Disney, but how Disney handles it, but also the visibility of it in the park to others, and how it affects those who might have to say, this is my disability because of the current situation we're coming in the park, just to feel that they're defending themselves. Just would kind of like to get everybody's opinion on that. Chris, you want to start me out?
Yeah. I understand why they focused a lot on autism with this. My first cousin has a son that's autistic, and I remember back they had to take a doctor's note the first few times they went to the parks back many years ago, to try to qualify for it and different things. But there's, as you said, Pete, and as you've described before, as yourself, like when you have long pants on or a long sleeve shirt on, it people can't tell. A lot of times you can't tell what some people are dealing with or their challenges, and so it's. I'm just gonna say I'm glad I'm not the person at Disney that has to make this decision or has to come up with these policies, because it's hard to say yes you do and no
Right.
you don't.
The accountability factor, lawsuits.
Right.
And we'll talk about that. That's going to be a next topic I want to talk about, is lawsuits, after we go around. Real quick, I do want to answer Corby. Corby, they just have to follow the ADA laws. There's specific information for everything that you can think of: how big a hallway has to be, how big a corridor has to be, how high your steps have to be in regulation to be in correspondence, what accessibility you have to give for someone to get from A to B. It's even all the way down to the slightest height in a curb and everything. So there are so many things. So
that's why a lot of the newer rides have a little bit of wider queue now, Pete.
God bless.
To allow scooters and all through now, so that those don't automatically have to move over to the DAS lines.
Which is a beautiful thing, and Disney is pushing that. And I guess I'm the exception to that rule, because without a left hand, it's tough for me to guide through those. If I physically had attributes to both accessibility in my hand, then I could do that easily. But, that's something that Disney will have to look one off. But yeah, you're right, Chris, on that. Lisa, your thoughts on where we're at?
It's pretty funny. The DAS has been around for a while. Keith had taken his mother before I even met him, and that was in the 80s, and she was elderly and not doing too good. And he got her a wheelchair, not even realizing that as soon as he got on a line, they pushed him right to the front. This is before they had FastPass lines. And then, of course, people learned about that, and everyone started renting wheelchairs, you know. And so we've watched its progression go, it's been constantly changing. It used to be a card, and you have your name, and I couldn't find mine for the show, unfortunately. You'd have your name put on it, and they would give you a return time, and then they'd come back and you'd scratch it off, and now it's on the app. But initially it was for anyone. Before this, it's anyone who just couldn't tolerate standing in the queue because of a disability.
Right.
So, and now it's turning, like Chris had said, to cognitive, maybe ADHD, who knows, autism. So it's weird in a way that all of a sudden it's become an issue again. I kind of in a way feel Disney made this monster, and they fed this monster, and now suddenly they realize the monster's eating too much. So they want to put it on a diet.
And thus the question of why I asked, is it broke or not? Because I honestly feel, my opinion, based on when this all came out, with the way it just kind of dropped on us, it was like they had a plane and just dropped the package, and this, now look at it, here it is, and they're not giving us any information yet that it is that way. It is broke to me in a lot of ways. And can they fix it without major legal ramification? The other, we'll definitely touch that. Joey and Stacey, you guys?
I was gonna say, can I just mention,
Sure.
when Avery started going to Disney, it was like what, 2000s? When he was a toddler, we could show a doctor's letter saying his diagnosis. It was never an issue. I get the card, go through that whole thing. I think when HIPAA came out, no Disney cast member will even touch a doctor's note. I would be like, trying to shove it in. No, it's okay. I'm giving you permission. Don't, we can't.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's like they're a whole nother 360, But when they wouldn't take my doctor's note, I felt like I was going in a battle, because they kept asking why, what's like 50 questions, where if you just look at my stupid note, it'll tell you that, he's got autism and he can't do these things.
Right.
So it's just crazy how it's morphing, and it's constantly changing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, no, I have two things I just wanted to mention. Is one of the things that comes to mind, Paul, with the timing of these issues. I think it comes with Lightning Lane, and I want to know why Disney didn't attack this from a overselling Lightning Lane perspective, as in, let's penalize the special needs communities. That hey, they can open up. Okay, the line's too long. The Lightning Lane's too long because we have too many DES people. And well, stop selling so many Lightning Lanes. Stop going for the money grab, and start, take it from that, and just stop selling so many Lightning Lanes. I mean, again, they probably didn't have this problem back when there was paper or FastPasses, where you were limited to a day, But and then because you sell in Lightning Lane, it favors richer people that can afford those things,
Right.
And those it almost goads those people that are in the gray area to cheat the system, because hey, well, if Disney really cared, they wouldn't be letting people in for the extra money. That's
Right.
one perspective. But another way they could make it a lot easier from the judgment side, you have people who resent, guests resenting each other. Oh, that person doesn't look special needs. That person doesn't look special needs, type of thing. They could avoid a lot of this by something that they already have in the hotel rooms. I know they have these special cartoons that they used to make for traveling easier, with Timon and Pumbaa. They could easily make some type of cartoons or something to raise awareness of people with invisible disabilities.
Right.
Why not create something like that that's running on the TV? The kids pick it up, the parents pick it up. It's something that they say, okay, well, maybe next time I see someone, maybe I won't be so quick to judge. Something that brings it more awareness, and even maybe some signage in line saying, there are people out there with invisible disabilities. Let's not be quick to judge, and let's all have a good time, type of thing. I think
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if anybody on the panel has the answer to Justin's question there. Does anyone know how this is handled internationally? I do not. I do not have international. I agree with you. I think that that laws will dictate, and Disney has minimum standard. I mean, they're only required to certain capacities of what they do. It's a great question, and one that if we do a follow-up, which I'd like to try to do a follow-up on this after they come out on the 20th and we see what is all out there, when we can talk about it more definitively with pieces. That's a great question. It's something I'll try to look into for that on there. Pete, let me go up to you for a sec. What you thinking?
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot. I agree with just about everything you guys said. There seems to be a real disconnect as to what HIPAA actually is, at least in California. And yeah, they suddenly didn't want to have even the idea that you were violating somebody's personal information. And, I've always wondered about the training that they had, if they were, how they got to that position where they could make that decision. Man, we've noticed here that the more prices went up and the more you had to buy things and the more segregation there was in the families, you can watch the fireworks, but if you want to see them, you got to spend extra money to get VIP seating. If you want to really see them good, you got to spend extra money for VIP seating and the dessert menu. And if you really want to watch them, you got to spend it for the VIP tour dessert thing. And everybody else is regaled out to the edges of Main Street or straight down, and you can't see squat. It was like that for Fantasmic as well, reserved seating, special seating. And all of a sudden people said, well, you know what? I think I have anxiety. You know what? I think, I have PTSD. I'm being treated for PTSD. So I'm not real big on fireworks. I'm not real big on crowds. There's a lot of things that I don't take advantage of simply because the DAS pass isn't going to help me out with that stuff. But, people, unfortunately, once it hits their wallet, that's when compromising decisions are made. And that's not a Disney thing. That's a people thing. People do that. It happens. I guess what it comes down to, though, is the effect that it has on the overall guest experience for Disney, and how is having 500 people having a DAS pass for one day affecting the overall experience, because it lowers it. Or, I think this decision wasn't made just recently. I think it was dropped on us so that there's not going to be a whole lot of time for litigation. There's not going to be a whole lot of time for people picketing, and Disney still they don't have a great image right now, let's be honest. And this way they have a chance to right a wrong that they've kind of, like you said, they're feeding the beast with. But I don't know if Disney only has this one plan. I don't think they would just jump into this and not have a backup plan for everything else. They might. I could be completely wrong on this, but it's interesting to see how they're making these decisions, why they're making these decisions, and the fact that nobody has any information about it, which makes me think they're still trying to hash it out. They're still trying to figure out what's legal, what's not legal.
Just real quick, I want to follow up on that. DizFan says, I felt like the cast members needed more training. I knew someone who went with their family. They wanted to ride Frozen at Epcot. They felt like they were being judged by the cast members. Timing was an issue. The cast members are trained to move as many people as they can through their FastPass, because that's where the money's being made. Okay, that Disney is a business, and that's the end of it. Is the amount of people using DAS, the fact that it's increased, taking away from the timing of FastPass, that it's causing slower FastPass timing of movement through the ride? Is it more of the fact that it's causing larger lines all the way around the park because those that are waiting have to wait longer? Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. So I think it is. In fact, I know it is, because the way that at least Disneyland is set up, California Adventure, is there's a hierarchy of who gets seated first on a ride. So you get into your queue and you have your standby. It's 35 minutes. Then you have your lightning lane, and then you have anybody with a pass. So if I got in line for Peter Pan, my wait time is usually about 45 minutes. It's been like that since the park opened. It's never below 45 minutes unless it's midnight. Right. Then you get 10 people from Lightning Lane. Then you get 10 people from DAS Pass. And what they have to do is, their training is they need to seat DAS first. And then because the people that paid are now waiting longer, they're upset. So then you have to seat them completely. You have to empty the line next. And then we'll deal with everybody else that's sitting over there in the standby line. Right. And so that 45 minutes becomes 120 minutes, like that. We see it with Soarin' Over the World, all the time in California Adventure. So before you know it, I'm having a horrible time because I waited an hour and a half for a ride that's 2 minutes and 45 seconds. You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
how is this worth my money? And all of a sudden, the amount of rides that the average person can go to, it drops from like, there was a study done, an average person can ride without FastPass or a DAS pass, just everybody standing in line, 24 rides in a day. And then that number drops down to 16, and then that number drops down to between 8 and 12 when you start adding in FastPasses and DAS passes. Mm-hmm. So I'm spending $180 to go to Disneyland one day, non-park hopper, on a tier 4 busy day, and I get 8 rides.
And they're probably
it's
the
a
little
problem.
window rides, probably too, right? Not the main event rides.
No, they consider riding down the street on Main Street in the omnibus a ride, hitting Mr. Lincoln a ride. Yeah. You know, anything where your feet are not currently touching the ground and you're in a vehicle is a ride. And so it can be anything. Horse-drawn carriage. There's 3 things you haven't even left Main Street. You got 3 more before you leave for the day.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
So, Chris, go ahead.
I was going to say, Pete, I think I understand them wanting to make a change. I think they handled this change very poorly. In that, for a lot of families, even if we're just as Disney's wording is targeting autism and related issues, Charlie and Stacey, Lisa, Pete, all of you have to plan these things out when you have a family member that's on the spectrum. I know for my cousin, everything has to be structured for him to get through a day.
Yep.
And when you live like that, and you're told, hey, okay, this whole process that we're used to, that's changing on the 20th. We'll give you more updates when that happens. That does not work for families like this at all.
Exactly.
They should have come out with more information on what exactly this process is going to be, more details, a website, something, even if it's a temporary website, where we can go with questions and answers and information. It kind of, and me not even being a person that would get this, it frustrates me that when I pull up Disney's website, there's no information after the 20th. There's nothing there.
Right. Nothing.
So even if you're qualified now, like Joey, like the Nerdhurst, whoever you are, if you're qualified now, that 20th date is just looming there. Like, okay, but what's next? You're standing here at a precipice, hoping there's a bridge there to get you to the other side, but we don't know what that bridge and what path we're going to get over there.
Yep. Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, according to one of the VPs I talked to from Anaheim, they said that it's not on the 20th that your DAS pass expires.
Wow.
It's after the 20th. So if you have a DAS pass that you've only used for a month, you still have the next 5 months. And then there's the adjustment. The next time you go for a pass, then it becomes the new system. But all existing passes, unless they expire on the 20th, are good until their expiration date.
Absolutely. That's true. Let's talk for a second here real quick about the legalities. I know Lisa's done a lot of background reading on what the people over at Universal have kind of gone through. And there's a lot of lawsuits going on over there. Just, your thoughts on what's going on over there, and is that heading to Disney? Is there a possibility of lawsuits by those who feel discriminated upon because of this new path that Disney is taking?
But I think you're right, Pete. I think that's why they're keeping it so kind of quiet right now, and why they're wanting to do these virtual at-home things, because they're afraid of what's coming. I think they've probably seen what's been happening over at Universal, which also applies to SeaWorld and Six Flags, all the places that we don't go to because of all of this. And, it could be a very big problem. This is a law that's been around for quite some time. It's a protection law. And I have to agree with West Coast Pete. See what I did there? West Coast Pete. I have to agree with it. That,
That's a thing now.
yeah, it's going to be a thing now that, and also to touch on what Charlie said, is that I think some people have, looked in on the chat boards and the message boards. Okay, gee, how do I do this? How can I acquire this free kind of lightning lane, fast pass, whatever? And Charlie, I know you mentioned, it'd be great for people, to learn, for kids to learn. There are invisible disability out there. We have a lot in our community. We have people with traumatic brain injury. We have people with multiple sclerosis. We have people, even arthritis can be considered a debilitating condition if it does follow those ADA things. The only problem is then if people learn that, do they learn the buzzwords? And that's the problem that Disney's going to have to figure out for themselves.
Yeah.
I think that if I can jump in really quick, I think that's why it's so important to have some type of documentation. If we go back to the documentation, because you can have all the buzzwords you want, but if you don't have an official documentation, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
And that would, like you said, here it is, black and white. You don't have to now justify anything. It's just the situation that you're in.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Charlie and Stacy, lawsuits. What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe I see a lot of waivers coming our way then.
No.
Sign this waiver. I don't know. It's going to be a mess.
I agree.
It's going to be a mess.
Angela says, but if it's considered a mobility issue, then they will say get a wheelchair or scooter. Yes, they will do that, because when they said to me the last time, which was a precipice right before all this started, was, well, can you get around with a wheelchair or scooter and be pushed around the queue line to make it to the ride that way? And my answer was, I could get a wheelchair if you're going to provide it to me for free with an electric situation, because I have no way of moving it myself, and I can't be put in a situation where if nobody's around me that I can't get to a bathroom, I couldn't get a drink of water because you're leaving me there.
Right.
And they didn't have an answer for that. They didn't have an answer for that.
Dave Strachan did say something about, I heard that they can't ask you. I mean, I went through the whole ADA law. Yes and no. I mean, HIPAA covers that more, but the ADA says they can't ask if it's in a job situation for you to get hired or promoted. If it's in a housing situation, it really doesn't say anything about as far as goods that you want to receive from a business. It doesn't say anything about that. I know from working in retail, we could ask to people if they had a service dog, is this a service dog and what does he do for you? But that's all we were not allowed to ask what the disability was that pertained to that animal.
Well, and California has additional laws on top of what the standard government laws. California is a spotted monkey in the local cage. That's kind of the way I used to say it, because
Florida. Move to Florida.
Yeah, we moved to Florida.
I just got the Inspire Pass. I can't afford to let that go. That's $1,600, lady.
Here's what I'd kind of like to do. We're at the top of the hour. I definitely am inviting all of you back, and would like to do it sometime after the 20th, that we can get together when everything is out there, and we can kind of take a look at it from tonight's perspective of our concerns and where we're at and feeling really left out, to what they're putting out, how the reaction time is, how does that affect you. I may bring one or two other people in on a spot thing to come in and just give their feedback real quick, but I'll plan that out accordingly. So I'd like to go around just for a final thought of the night, or anything we might have missed that might be on your mind. We'll start with ladies first, to go to Lisa, and throw it to you first.
I'm just happy to have the opportunity to meet with other people, have a great discourse about this. It's still a learning thing for all of us, and I really, not only do I feel so much, not so much even for our family, but for all of our friends as well. For you, Pete, for Mike Wheeler, for all the other people in the community, that are going to have a very tough go out of this at this supposedly the most magical place on earth. And I appreciate all that Disney has done for us. People don't realize, we get preferred parking. We pay for that every time, because when Joey's done, he's done. There's no waiting for a tram. There's no walking all the way to the back of the parking lot. We haven't done fireworks since the close down at COVID, because suddenly he'd feel, and maybe we'll do a dessert party someday and wait till the crowd. He can't, he says he's going to get trampled. So he doesn't want to stay that late. So, like you said, it's a lot of planning There's a lot of issues when you have a special needs family. And unfortunately, people don't realize too, we would, a lot of special needs family go, okay, I'll get a lightning lane. Hard to believe special needs family have, I think, more expenses than the average person. We have more doctor's visits. We have more therapists. You know this, Pete. I'm sure everybody on the panel knows this. You have a lot more expenses and things. And if you living with my Hercules over there, duct tape and glue and buying new stuff all the time because he has no idea how something, how that banister got into the wall. It just happened on Wednesday, but he don't know how it happened. So we have those issues, and I'm really hoping we can have this discussion again once we get a little bit more information, or maybe even once one of us goes through a process.
I definitely want to do that. I also acknowledge the fact that, yes, it's when you get to the point where you walk into the hospital and they know you like Norm from Cheers, you spent a lot of time there. And I go through that a lot. And the first time it happened, I was like, oh, they recognize me for my YouTube channel. No, they recognize me because I'm the guy that's been in the hospital way too long. I got a little too excited. So Preston was quick to tell me, Dad, they don't know you for your YouTube channel. They know you because
son of the year.
Yeah, that's my son. I also want to say that if moderators, would you please drop the links for all of my guests and my partner channel? Again, I encourage you all to please click their link, go check them out, give them a follow, check out their content. If you like what they're doing, stay there, give them a shot. If you're new to me, we're going to do this again. We try to make this a community platform, and I would really love you to come back. Charlie and Stacy, final thought?
Go ahead.
Well, I know that things are going to be crazy coming up with the new system. I just want to appeal to everyone, showing that we have an opportunity here to, when you have the choice, try to take the high road, try to show some empathy, try to show some sympathy, try to show some understanding. There's going to be a lot of frustrated people out there. The last thing you want to do is be pointing fingers and getting in an uproar. I know that, being part of a special needs family myself, there's so much we have to deal with just on a regular day basis. We don't need extra garbage poured on top of that. So just, be nice to each other. It's my little hint. And thanks for having us, Pete. We really appreciate you having us on tonight.
Yeah, we want to thank everyone for their support.
Yeah, everyone's so awesome with Avery. Everyone who meets Avery, we are so proud to be friends with them, and they're so good with him. And he's an awesome young man, and I'm always, every day I'm awed by the kindness of people towards him. So,
right. Absolutely. Love that. Pete?
Sir. So, we don't know what to expect on the West Coast either. As a matter of fact, my channel, what we normally do are what we call NeuroDiv deep dives, and we only got 2 out before we realized we weren't getting enough information into how to access the rights properly. And we've put a hold on it right now since these changes have come out. So the one thing I'm constantly reminded by our community, by the friends that I live stream with, by the people that go to the park, is we don't know what we're mad about yet. Right. And so we're speculating. And I'm not saying it's going to be puppy dogs and rainbows. I'm just saying that, the energy that we have right now, we can put into much more constructive things than the worry. We've been, like I said, I've been a single dad for 17, 18 years. You worry about your kid that is special needs. You worry about your autistic kid, and the changes that come, they're going to come, and it's completely out of our hands. What I think we can do, though, is turn to each other, lean on each other, talk to each other, educate, understand, advocate for each other, and just use that as a springboard that, we can build this into something greater. And any adversity, we can find our way out, and we can find that light that takes us out. And if we're the light that guides everyone else through our platforms, man, more power to us. God be willing, we can do something like that. I think that if you can get a wider viewership to bring them in so they understand what it actually takes, the planning, the preparation. We have a special Disneyland assault pack, a DAP that, has to have things for Mary to block out sound, block out smell, block out noise, block out light, block out booms, block out crowds, block, everything, clothing, changes of food, snacks, meals. It's incredible what you have to lug around the park. If we can teach that from our platform, maybe some of these issues that we worry about, they're not going to be that big of a deal because we know we're doing everything that we can. And just be like you guys said, be kind to each other, love each other, lean on each other. We're not going to get out of this alone. It's going to take a community, and that's what we want to build.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well said. Well said, Chris.
I'll say, Pete, I don't. Of course, we haven't heard the last from Disney about this. I think this is a very fluid process that could change even, after the announcement, or after the change on the 20th. But I think part of the good thing about this too, though, is it's giving people a little bit of more of ability to learn about others' challenges, whether it's, we see the videos like with the Nerd Herders, with Joey and everybody, all the fun that they have. You get to see the bloopers with Joey, and all that fun.
or you get to be the subject of his video.
Or you get to be the subject. but you don't see the challenges that these families face every day, and when things are not good, and in turn, you don't know about someone that is late getting to the park one day because they can't get out of the room because of other medical reasons, or the person that has the unseen condition that is about to get on the ride and has to immediately get out of the line to go find the closest facility because they cannot, they can't do it, can't make it. So I think it's given a lot of us a chance to learn about others, and let's just learn to care a little bit more about people. And it doesn't cost you a thing to be kind. And
yep, absolutely. Well said. I'll finish up by saying a couple things. One, I want to first thank all the guests for coming on tonight. I've had the blessings of knowing Avery and Joey, interacting even a little bit more with Joey than I have with Avery. And I can tell you that you and your families are both blessed in how you have worked with and brought them into a beautiful light. And they are amazing people. Pete, I can say I've only known you a little bit, but the time that I've seen you on the screen with your daughter, it gives me great empathy to how good of a dad I can tell you are. And to Chris, I'm blessed to have Chris in any way part of my channel, because the minute I brought this up, it wasn't even a hitch. It was, let's do it. And that's the type of person that Chris is here. So I'm blessed, and I say thank you for that. Disability is not a thing where it eliminates us or anyone from being successful, integral parts of a community, whether it's this Disney community, whether it's a community at home, whether it's anything. It's just a speed bump in how we live our lives. I don't get up each day and regret the fact of what happened to me. I get up each day and try to find happiness in what I deal with. Much like I know I've had the blessings of going back and forth with Joey on different battles of sports knowledge and stuff. And, he kicks my butt, by the way. But it's when you look at someone of disability, whether it's hidden and they keep it quiet, respect them. If it's visible and you understand it, respect them. It doesn't have to be a topic. It doesn't have to be the head turned, I'm sorry. The people of disability are living their lives to the best of their ability and finding ways to find the magic and happiness that every person finds on a normal basis. And I speak of that as a guy who went to bed one day as normal as I probably could be and woke up 45 days later as different as I've ever found myself. So find the love and happiness. To Chris's point, find the happiness in people, understanding and have tolerance, patience, One of my closest friends in the world has taught me the word patience, and I know it now better than probably ever. And I'm so happy that that word is now part of my vocabulary. We will come back and revisit this. I'll invite these nice people back. If you have questions for any of them, please reach out on their social medias. Check in with them. Again, check out their content. You won't be disappointed. If you have questions for me to give to the panel for the next time, please put them in the body of this video afterwards. Put it in the comment section, and I will save them, and we will come back to them next time, and we will revisit this topic. My last thought is, Disney, if you're listening, because I know there's an algorithm and there's somebody out there. There's a lot of people out here that care. There's a lot of people out here that love to come to the parks, to go to your resorts, to visit your stores, and to spend their dollars. Regardless of whether it's a person of disability or a person of no challenges at all, our dollars all spend the same. Please look at us that way. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Everybody hang tight. We'll be right there. I don't have an out, so it's just, Chris, can you do the bye thing for me one time?
Oh, hope everybody has a good night. Love you all. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
There we go. Love it. Now I just got to end the stream. See, my hand's not working. Good